This is First Contact, Stories of the Call Center.
Get ready to dial into the exciting world of call centers with First Contact, Stories of the Call Center podcast. Join us as we share stories from industry leaders, explore the latest trends and technologies, and tackle the challenges and triumphs of the contact center landscape. Fasten your seatbelt for a high-energy journey brought to you by Nobel Biz, the one-stop shop for all your call center needs, both in software and service.
All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of First Contact Stories of the Call Center, where we're going to be diving into the minds and stories behind the voices that lead the contact center industry. I'm your host, Christian Montez, and today we're going to be exploring the fascinating world of customer experience with a very special guest. In the bustling ecosystem of customer experience, it's rare to find someone who is not only embracing the change, but driving that change. So today we have with us Nate Brown, the co-founder of CX Accelerator and a visionary in the customer experience landscape. So join us today, sit back, relax, and listen to how not only he cultivates a vibrant community of CX professionals, but also pushes those boundaries of what customer experience and customer service can achieve through not only innovation, but also technology. So today, Nate, welcome to the show. Excited to have you with us.
What's going on, Christian? Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Love the subject matter you've got queued up for us. It's going to be a good day.
No, it is. And look, we love to start with stories, right? In this case, it's going to be your story because not everybody wakes up and goes, hey, I'm going to be a customer experience professional. Or I'm going to work in the contact center space, right? Somehow we fell into it. So kind of walk us through that journey of what was early career like for you and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I hadn't discovered pickleball yet. I'll bet I would have tried to be a pro pickleballer if I'd found it sooner, but I was trying to be a professional golfer for a while. I just couldn't quite hack it, Christian. So I was gonna be a swing coach, something like that. That didn't work out either for me. And I was like, you know what? I would really enjoy doing marketing. There's something a little more practical there, right? And so, went to school for that and had an amazing experience at Tacoma Falls College. But coming out of there, wasn't quite able to get that quote unquote dream job. Found myself selling postage meters on the streets of Jacksonville, Florida. And it was a rough year, Christian. But something I learned in that as I was dialing for dollars and hitting these strip malls trying to sell postage meters is that I loved being able to do customer service related activities. And those folks that had these little devices, making sure that they had the best experience possible. And that was just in my nature, right? And so as I sought another step after that, I found a really amazing customer service role, and I just went, just exploded in this little mini contact center and loved the nature of the work. It was a safety science company. I was getting to make sure that folks were staying safe on their jobs using the great technology that we had. And I mean, my career just really took off at that point, and I've loved customer service and now more recently, customer experience type of work ever since.
It's interesting how a lot of times when we hear stories about someone's first experience in the contact center, sometimes it's like, it was just a job and I had to get through it. And eventually they had to find their way. But there was this piece of you where I could see in your face, you're just sitting there kind of lighting up and going, like, I was doing something of value. I was helping. How did that become part of your life where you could sit there and see something so positive out of what was happening, was delivered? Is it the leadership in the business you're with? It was just you've always looked at the bright side of stuff. How did you go from like, wow, this is tough, I'm having difficult conversations and I got to help people, to, yeah, this is exciting, this is great, I can make a career out of this?
Yeah. I think something I love telling my team now. So I have the amazing honor of leading a small contact center at a PRO, performing rights organization here in Music Row in Nashville. And I say all the time, every interaction's an adventure. And like I view us as these customer service professionals. I mean, we're like a mini marriage officiant, right? I mean, we're marrying the need that this person has, this unique human being on the other end of the line who is stuck somewhere. Something's wrong, right? And they don't know exactly how to say it. So like we are in the business of speaking the language of the customer, and we're taking that side of it and we're marrying it with the unique capabilities of the business. And we know those products, those services, those sticking points, those friction issues that the business has more intimately than anybody else. So we get to take the customer's real need in the language we've interpreted and match it with the true capabilities of the business, not the marketing spin. So, I mean, what a magician that person is. That customer service pro has this unbelievable skill set and can do it like 70 times a day. It's unbelievable.
No, it is. And it's awesome how infectious your energy is. And I think that is part of one of the reasons we were excited to have you on, because there's so many people that look at it from a transactional perspective, right? This idea of the contact center is a cost center. It's just a thing I have to have. I just need to have it work there, but it's not always executed the way you're describing. Now, let's kind of shift a little bit to this idea of CX Accelerator. What is that? How did you get there? What's its purpose? And, what are you getting out of it today, or what is it giving back today?
Yeah. So many years ago at a different company than what I work for now, I had become lonely in the work that I was doing. I was managing a customer service center, but something kind of got off rails for me emotionally, where I had burned out and was just kind of going through the motions and felt kind of trapped in my building, as it were. And was like, I've got to get out of here. Metaphorically speaking, I've got to let my mind escape the walls of this office and get some inspiration and energy and edification from the incredible community of CX professionals that's out there in the world, which I get to taste a little bit when I go to a conference or something. But what is that? A couple times a year. So it's like, okay, we've got to get this more. And so created just a simple digital capability to do that, a Slack channel called CX Accelerator. Started to work with some friends to design this really unique digital ecosystem where folks could get that type of encouragement, fight that burnout, and do some really unique collaborations as well. And we've generated some really interesting community-led content through that experiment too. So it's been a wonderful ride, and we've been doing it for a few years now, and we're just getting better and better and have a much bigger vision for the future of what this thing could become.
From when you started that to now, had you had your own business before in any way prior, or what got you to have that mindset of saying, is this a business, or is it just a community, or has it become a business? How does that align with both how you've done your work, or is this more of just, I'm not going to call it a side gig, but is this like a parallel path to being able to have, like you said, that place to escape the bounds of the work life and kind of have this other community?
Yeah, that's a great question, Christian. It's actually not a business. It's a nonprofit. It's definitely a passion project and just something that's been led by volunteers from the beginning and will continue to be that way. But, it is a safe place. It is a bit of a refuge for folks. And I feel more convicted than ever. We need these campfire spaces. We need these places where we can go and find those that can inspire us and in some ways think like us, but then also think very differently from us. But we have this common ground of the fact that we love this work, this incredible, fascinating work of customer experience. It's changing the hearts and minds towards people and brands. It's amazing what we get to do through this great work. So let's do it well. And we're only going to be able to do that well, if we're in community with one another. It's so rare that we can get the food we need from our own organization as CX professionals. I mean, to some degree we can, right? But we think different. We're trying to do something different. And the organization is relying on us to bring a unique mentality and a unique capability to the business to push the boundaries of how we can serve customers really well. So often we've got to find that outside the walls of the building. And so a place like CX Accelerator is going to be an excellent place to do that.
It's interesting how you pose that, because you would think, right, when we talk about culture and leadership in a business, no one ever says, yeah, our leadership and our culture really isn't customer-centric, or that we don't really care about our customers. It's transactional, right? It's usually the opposite. No, we love our customers. We want to know our customers. We embrace our customers. But sometimes that mindset of how CX really can be, the way you've described it, the way your energy pushes out, that's not always really the way the leadership in a business, or even maybe it's middle, high level management that maybe doesn't believe it that way. Maybe there's a gap between the C level and the next level below, and where you actually deliver that experience to your customers. So you're creating this community, which is fantastic. I think you have like multiple thousand people now that have joined it since then. But this is like this place, which is great for sharing best practices, I'm sure, being able to keep that campfire as you described. But why do you think there's that disconnect, or it feels like many businesses have that disconnect where you're kind of on an island, like you said, on your own sometimes trying to fight the good fight? Why isn't it in complete alignment with the business? Is there something there that you've seen that maybe causes that, or things that maybe have helped you get through that?
I mean, I think there's a few things that happen. I think businesses lose focus on what's really important. Like the business got started for some reason, right, Christian? I mean, there was a unique way that this group of people with X product, service, technology, whatever it is, could serve a group of other people. and this mission started, right? But like we get lost in that missional led entity becomes something very different, where we just lose focus on those things that are most important. And so the CX leader gets to be a cheerleader for that, and gets to bring the heartbeat of that back into the everyday, because it's through the voice of our customers that we understand our impact that we're truly having. Not the impact on the bottom line, not for our quarterly revenue shareholder model that we're so often bound to. And that's, we do want to make money, right? But that's not why the business really started. There was a way that we could make a positive impact on our communities and a certain group of people, our customers. So keeping that in focus is so critical, and we oftentimes lose sight of it. Then you have your leadership who has the right things in mind and is talking about customer centricity, but does not know how to put it into action, doesn't know how to give meaning to those words. And so that's where we get to come along and make it a reality. We get to put in the hard work to lay the framework behind the scenes of change management, of project management, of unification, of common vision on what it means actually, truly, specifically to be customer centric, and help foster that and align to that. So, I mean, those are two things that happen, Christian, is just kind of that losing sight of the overall mission and why we do what we do, trying to get that intrinsic motivator back into the conversation, but then also bringing the reality of, okay, what does that actually look like when we do want the right things for the right reasons?
Running a contact center these days takes a great deal of courage and fortitude. Nobel Biz would like to salute the contact center community for not giving up and working hard to drive their businesses down the road to success. As the promise keepers of the industry, our goal was to provide one of the most versatile and cost-efficient omni-channel solutions on the market. Nobel Biz Omni Plus is a cloud contact center software that gives instant access to a full range selection of channels, from voice calls, two-way SMS, email, WhatsApp, Twitter, Telegram, among others. Our solution offers complete control over the externalities by switching from an on-premise technology to a cloud-based solution in just a matter of hours. Get integrated compliance support, advanced reporting, seamless agent and supervisor dashboards, and many more performance-enhancing capabilities, all in just one product. Nobel Biz Omni Plus, the future-proof solution for scaling contact center operations. Learn more about Nobel Biz Omni Plus at www.nobelbiz.com.
Let's kind of take and overlay that experience that I'm sure plenty of people have run into, right? Where there's now a disconnect from the original intent of the business. There's a leadership that just doesn't know how to get there. And then you talk about that burnout, that need to go talk to your community. So let's go back to CX Accelerator for a minute, and let's talk about how does that community actually get from just a place for people to talk to actually create action, right? How do people learn from one another? How do you get people to be engaged versus just kind of being there, a member, but they're not active in the community? Is there anything that you do to get that community to really go from notch 1 to like notch 10 in the engagement level?
Sure. I mean, we ask tough questions often of, hey, where are you stuck right now? Like, if you could do the very most thing that you want to be able to do, but can't accomplish right now, what would it be? And learning from those things, and then taking those trends and sourcing people that have some kind of unique thing. Oh, I actually tried this and this really helped me to get over that hurdle. And then oftentimes what we do, we'll take a couple people and have them collaborate on something, a blog piece, a webinar, a speaking cohort like Kiki and Rob Dreyer right now. Like they've got a unique solution that they can bring to the table for this thing that we identified that's holding CX leaders back. So I mean, that's the kind of process and mentality that we often use.
So that proactiveness, right, where it's not just like waiting for someone to ask a question, which is great to be there for them, but you're actually going to them and saying, how do we get to that next step? Now, from a mindset perspective, right, any things that you guys do or things you recommend to get out of that funk, that just piece where you get deflated and you're going, man, I don't know if I can actually do this because maybe the alignment with leadership isn't there, or maybe I'm just kind of a token on the side where it's nice to have, but I have no authority to do anything like change management or being able to get people to come and work with that project. Anything that you talk about or do in that area from a mindset perspective with the teams?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'll try to go back to the basics, with good change management. I love the John Coder model and talking about how, the first thing we do is light a match. It's creating a sense of urgency. So it's like, okay, do I have that right now, Christian? Like, where am I stuck? Why am I stuck? Is it because folks don't want to change? Like as human beings, our nature is just to chill, just to wait it out. Like how many change initiatives have we seen die on the rocks? Like they just go nowhere because you didn't earn the right with me. Like I don't care enough about what you're talking about because you came up in some all hands on deck meeting one time and followed up with one email and think I'm going to change my behavior and mentality now. No, you've not earned it with me. I don't care enough yet. It's like, okay, so maybe I haven't earned the right with people yet. What would it look like to earn the right with them? That's like stage one. Stage two is developing a change coalition cooperatively in alignment. It's a group of leaders together and other folks, from across the business who they've lit the match. They've got the fire burning. Now it's like, okay, now how do we bring this back to our teams? So we're behaving in a consistent manner. We're casting a similar vision together and using that mechanism, that CX change coalition, to start to do the next steps. It's removing the friction points, removing the barriers. It's celebrating quick wins. Sometimes that's what you need, Christian, to get out of the funk. If you've got those couple things I just talked about, if the fire's there, if you lit the match, you've got the right mechanism in place with a change coalition of cross-functional leaders, maybe what you need now is a quick win. Maybe you're just stuck on a couple losses and you just need to get a touchdown and get the team excited again.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of quick wins and celebrating them, right? That people sometimes wait, like, no, we only celebrate when you get to the finish line and you're done. It's like, no. Along the way, there's all these moments, milestones, opportunities to create a positive experience and create that energy and that momentum that really starts to push forward. Now, you've really introduced this concept, right, of hierarchy of customer experience needs. We talk about, trust, safety, mission alignment, as fundamental elements. Can you talk more about that and elaborate on how that influences not only decisions and policies, but how it can be a positive impact in the business?
I should have pulled that up, but yeah, from memory. Yes. So, I mean, it really starts with that psychological requirement of like, can I trust you, brand? Like, are you going to hurt me? Like, and I think that kind of started during COVID, like where it was really attuned to us again. Cause we're kind of in an age where thinking about our physical safety or our data security, maybe to use a more relevant example there, like we're not thinking about it all the time, but like, can I trust you, company, to protect my safe being? Like that has to be there on the bottom. If you've compromised that, I mean, think about the unbelievable IT outages that we suffered a couple weeks ago. The question comes back, like, can I trust you? And the answer in that day was no. Like I can't get to Florida to celebrate this bachelorette party. That was where my sister was at. Like she could not do what she really needed to do for one of her best friends because, the trust was compromised there. So, that question resurfaced for a lot of folks a couple weeks ago. But then you kind of get to work up. Okay, yeah, I can trust you with the very most foundational elements. Now, should I trust you? It's like, as I give you money, as I give you my time, my energy, are you going to make the world a better place in the way that I see that happening? Like, how are you going to use that? What are you going to do to invest in and impact the communities that you serve? Are you the type of brand that I want my identity to be associated with? And that's kind of, as we level up, then you start to get in, okay, are you going to honor my time? So I trust you. I think you're good. I resonate with your core values as a business. Now, are you going to respect me? Are you going to give me a good value? Are you going to give me an effort-free experience where it's consistent and I know what I'm going to get? Because that's going to continue to develop that trust and foster that relationship where it's like, yeah, of course I'm coming to you. Why would I consider anything else? So as you work up that pyramid, you're just establishing loyalty. You're earning loyalty with your customer base.
You know, I love the fact that you said earning, right? Because there's this always thing that people look at me with, I'm really good at what we do. We have the best product. We have the best service. We have the best this. We're so great. It's always selling everybody that you're lucky to be working with us, right? And you don't sit there and look as every customer is a gift, right? You are earning that opportunity to have a conversation, then to earn the trust and all the things you're talking about from there. And so when you think of that journey that people have to go through to really trust and exchange the time and money and effort with whatever they're getting, a product or service, how does that fundamentally shape customer interactions and how the customer perceives a brand from being able to sit there and go, okay, I'm now not only going to spend my money, but I'm going to keep spending my money and maybe I'm going to say something positive versus there's a lot of brands, right? How they reacted to that outage. Some did better jobs and some really did a poor job. What do brands do and how do people perceive that? And is it harder today versus, 5, 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, people have a lot more options, Christian. I mean, the cost of change is lower, right? I mean, we're quick to consider a competitor if we feel like our relationship has been compromised and there's somebody right around the corner that's probably doing it pretty well. So it is harder these days to secure customer loyalty in a lot of customer segments, a lot of industries right now. So what on earth do you do? Well, I mean, it's so many different things, so many of these variables that we've talked about. I mean, we talked about laying that foundation of trust and then working up into more of a relationship-based category. And so to answer your question with one very specific thing, communities. It's not just CX Accelerator. That's a digital campfire community, right? But that's something that most every brand should be considering some form of a digital community as part of their relationship strategy with their customers. Because you're connecting customers with each other and you're creating this incredible customer service channel, this incredible voice of customer feedback channel, this incredible engagement lever for the people that care about your brand. And you're just galvanizing the relationship. You're fostering that relationship in a very modern way because you're showing the vulnerability there. I mean, you're not trying to be perfect in a community. You're trying to get people excited about co-creation, about the fact that you're designing something new and special together alongside your customers. So that's where we get to transcend the whole idea of you screwed up, I'm leaving. It's, oh, wow, okay, that could have been better. I actually saw that coming a little bit because I was part of that. I had some skin in the game there. I tested that feature. Like I was in the community when we were talking about that. That didn't go quite as I had planned. I can't wait to go back and iterate on that alongside this brand that I love and care about. It's
so great how you talk about that community piece where you have that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because I think so many times brands are so worried about the negative part of what's talked about their business or when there's a problem, they kind of want to just make everything look like nothing to see here. Everything's great. Everything's awesome. And, something's always going to go wrong. And when it does, what you do about it and don't do about it is going to be the difference. I remember someone much smarter than I many years ago told me, you don't fear or avoid complaints, right? You embrace them because it's that opportunity that customer is giving you to make it right. Because the alternative is they just leave. They stop spending money with you, right? And so in that community that you're talking about, that vulnerability is awesome because not only do you have people that hopefully love your brand and can speak up and say like, yeah, this is how you do that, or here's how creative I've done it. But it also gives you the opportunity to go out and say, hey, yeah, we're not perfect, but for everyone to see when things go wrong, this is what we do about it. And I think that's really important when you talk about exactly what you're speaking about. So from a contact center perspective, right, which is just one piece of the journey that people go through, it's kind of an interesting dynamic, right? Because a lot of times it's how do I avoid having to talk to someone, or how do I make it, harder to communicate? And most people say that's not the case. We're trying to optimize efficiencies, headcount, whatever. But how do you see in the contact center from, phone, email, chat, all the other things that people do, where they can improve on that dynamic when it comes to being able to sit there and have community? Is there anything that can connect with community, or is it all just kind of one-to-one? It is what it is, and hopefully it's a one-off interaction that goes well or bad.
I love, going back to the classic effortless experience, thinking about next issue avoidance. And there's a magic to that mentality, right, Christian? I mean, that idea of, no, I'm not going to rush you off this interaction. So we were just able to solve something that you knew to speak of. Like you in your head had a problem. I know so much about what you're experiencing right now that I know that in 2 days from now, you're going to have this happen. And I'm going to go ahead and help you with that too. I mean, think about the contact center that has that type of freedom. They're not bound by an over-aggressive average handle time. They're not oppressed by the feeling that they're just an erroneous cost center. No, they know that they're there to add strategic value to their customers. They're there to be a guide. I love that metaphor from building a story brand. It's that idea of the customer's the hero of the story. Do we care about them? Do we think they're a hero? Are we proud of what they're out there doing because of their relationship to us? If so, then let's put a guide in front of them to help bring them through that journey better than they could have done alone. And that is the customer service representative. That is the guide that they have. Let them walk the journey with them. Let them be there to generate strategic value. And that's such a different mentality for the contact center than what you see 99% of the time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the concept of a guide knows the journey. And when you're treating everything transactional and you don't have access to anything, or you're not allowed to do something or say something, or it's so siloed, of course, right? We have so much data today, so much information, so much access to stuff that some of us sit back and go, you know everything about me. But at the same time, when we get in these one-on-one transactions, it's like you don't know me at all. And not only do you not know me, but you're not even understanding what I'm going through right now. And so that mindset just creates these terrible experiences. And then unfortunately, a lot of times, people aren't prepared, both in technology and in training, in their individual skill set. So when we think about that, anything that you can think of that you've seen successful, as you say, 99% of people don't do this. Have you seen, and you don't have to talk about brands per se, but an experience where someone is embracing that type of dynamic or that form of openness towards guiding people versus just it's transactional?
Yeah, I mean, it's been so fun being a part of creating that for several brands, in the past couple of years. It's been an absolute joy. One in the gaming space, one in the retail space, and now, in the music area, bringing that type of mentality and working for businesses that very much care about their customers and are investing in this strategic differentiator of customer service. But to be more specific, Christian, Jonathan Schroer, somebody I used to work with, he gave me this metaphor of thinking about customer service into the future and, our new AI capabilities and other things. He's like, think about Jarvis. Think about Jarvis and how Jarvis was just there for Iron Man. Like Iron Man was just, doing his thing. He knew he needed to go up into space to stop the evil spaceship. But Jarvis is like, okay, I'm putting oxygen in the suit. You just had a missile fired at you. I took care of that. Like Iron Man's not having to think about it. Like he's able to focus on his objective. And I think that is kind of what we get to do with all this amazing data that we have and all these incredible AI capabilities. we get to act like Jarvis for our Iron Man, the hero of our story with our customer there. But then one thing I've added on since then, to go kind of back to the other side of the conversation we've been talking about with the community element, another thing, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true. Jarvis is pretty cool. But who actually is the guide for Iron Man? Who is the real heartbeat behind Iron Man? It's Pepper Potts. Because she's his conscience. And like, you know, she's the one giving the intrinsic motivation, giving him the purpose and the why behind his objective. It's informing the journey, not just being there for it. And that's what a real guide does. So the combination of Pepper Potts and Jarvis, to me, that's the future of customer service. And it's so exciting.
You know, it's a great segue, and I love the analogy there. But you've really talked about, you know, this guide on embracing the AI revolution and a CX leader's guide to like collaboration, right? That kind of just overlays nicely what we're talking about. And when we talk about AI, right, there's this idea of, when is AI going to replace humans entirely? But then before that, right, there's this debate between whether AI is ready for whatever it can do today and where is it even being used that is effective and efficient versus just a cool, shiny object. And the other side of it is, where's it really helping humans in their communication versus replacing them? So can you kind of give an overlay of what you're seeing in that avenue and how that aligns with that guide that you've really been able to showcase?
Yeah, I mean, it's navigating the twofold element of a customer service interaction. It's always been this way, Christian. This is not new. There's two parts to every customer service interaction. It's, I've got a problem you need to fix. And then it's, I'm a person that's in a relationship with you as a brand. And like we get fixated on the problem to fix because that's right in front of us. And we've got all the data on that, right? And that is where AI gets to come and do all that. Like, there should not be the problem. We should be able to anticipate that. We should be able to eliminate that friction point. If we have it, we should be able to use remarkable self-service capabilities to get right back on the path. But what about the other part of this? I mean, the real problem that we're having right now, Christian, is that people are lonely. I mean, there's an epidemic of loneliness that is well published. I mean, our U.S. Surgeon General came out with a massive report on the epidemic of loneliness. Gartner predicted not too long ago that like over 70% of call center interactions, the real root cause of why people are calling in is because they're lonely. So we people get to connect with somebody and make a real connection with that person in a meaningful way, give that sense of identity to them of, hey, this is why you're in a relationship with us as a brand. Like, this is what we are trying to achieve together. It's the Pepper Potts part of the equation. So if we lose sight of that and we just focus everything on automation, then we do lose something there. So it's like, okay, how do we resolve and reduce friction? How do we do that? But then how do we foster community and foster a sense of identity? Do both.
You know, it's interesting how we talk about the AI as Jarvis from your analogy. But when you bring in that Pepper Potts piece, right, that human purpose aspect versus just the data, just the next right step, the next guidance piece that you need, you really have to get not only on the self-service side, right, to be frictionless, to be something that addresses what you need in a way that you need it, when you need it, how you need it, but also when you have that loneliness, when you have that feeling that you need to talk to a person, you're going to have those higher level conversations, those ones that are maybe more emotional, more complex. How do you see a business or a leader being able to take those two dynamics and be able to say, I know what should and can be done well in self-service, and I know how to now take those higher level pieces with a human being and do them well versus just, oh, I'm just going to get a bot. I'm just going to get a next thing that says AI on it. And it's so cool. And I'm going to put it in and then make things worse. What's that first step of your perspective? Go, well, how do you go into this without, putting a bunch of stuff in play and then breaking it?
I mean, this is part of why, Christian, that having the community element is so important because, I mean, again, let's go back to classic effortless experience. What you're doing there is you're guiding customers to the best resolution path for the problem that they have. So if we're anticipating the issue, we're seeing it coming, we're putting our feet in the shoes of the customer at that time. How do we guide them to the best path? So many of the things we should be guiding them towards that evolved, highly capable self-service capability. But for the questions of identity, for the questions of, wow, I really want to talk to somebody else about this. I really want to brainstorm on something here. I want to see if somebody else is trying this out or has seen this outcome. They want to go talk to another customer or talk to a representative of the business that has that type of perspective. So guiding them towards more of that community ecosystem is where you have the capability to do that. It's anticipating and having the right things in place.
A famous African proverb says that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. At Nobel Biz, we have made it our mission to travel far and wide with our partners and clients. As a complete telecom services provider with over 20 years of experience in the industry, Nobel Biz offers the only voice carrier network designed with the sole purpose of serving call centers around the world. This contact center dedicated carrier network provides crystal clear voice traffic, up-to-date compliance tools, intelligent routing, and highly secure data protocols combined with 99.9% uptime and easy setup. Our goal for 2022 is to become the ultimate partner and provider for the contact center industry by placing service quality at the top of our priority list. To top it off, at Nobel Biz, we have the most competitive cost per minute model in the industry. Need proof? Reach out to us and learn more about the Nobel Biz Voice Carrier Network at www.nobelbiz.com.
So from a leadership perspective, to kind of pivot from the community side of it, which is great if you have that built, but if you're going to start this, if you don't have that today and you're the leader that's listening to this and saying, well, my CX leader hasn't brought it yet, or you are the CX leader and you're saying, gosh, I got to do this. Where do you start? How do you get this? Is it you join the forum, the group and say, hey, how do I do this? You know?
I know it starts here inside your business. It starts with the mentality of the organization. I mean, going back to the leading change concept of establishing a sense of urgency. If we're going to change anything, Christian, it has to be a battle of the mind and awakening a new mindset there and establishing a sense of urgency around the fact that we have to evolve in this area. If we are going to serve our customers in these evolved ways, if we're going to keep our customers, if we're going to ever be able to earn the right to acquire new customers, these are the things that we have to do as an organization. And we know it's true. I mean, look at the rise of customer success, Christian. What is customer success if not a customer-centric way of doing sales and marketing? It's maximizing customer value. It's earning the acquisition engine by doing a good job with the customers you have today and activating them and making them more engaged and generating more reciprocal value. So we know that this is how you grow the business. The numbers are there. The statistics are there to earn market share. Look at the simplicity index. If you want a number to light the fire with, businesses that are easy to do business with, that solve problems quickly and get people back on that path effectively, they're running circles around the competition. So the matches are out there. You just got to find the right one to light, and you've got to do it intelligently, and you've got to do it with people that have that influence and that you can bring together into that CX change coalition. That's how you're laying the foundation here to then go, quote unquote, do something like investing in a community effort.
Yeah, Nate, I think it's interesting how you keep reflecting back onto that, not only sense of community, but the fact that it's a mindset. You have to have the mindset first to be able to sit there and go, this has to be done. It has to be done right. And there's a reason why, right? You said there's all the statistics around it where happier customer that wants to say good things about you, buys more from you, stays longer. And the cost to replace that customer with a new customer is way higher than growing and maintaining that one. But I think a lot of times that may be too different of places in the business, and it's not focused enough in that group to know that whole journey of what that actually means materially for the business, even with employee retention, right? You keep people longer and happier. It's less expensive than it is to go find the new person. But unfortunately, a lot of times that's not the case.
I think what you're hitting on there is the thing that makes CX harder than anything else, is the fact that it is so big and has to be done cross-functionally by the business as a whole. I mean, it's not some project that you get to throw money at. It's not something you get to put one leader in charge of and say, go do this. I mean, so many of the things we get done in the business are done that way. You don't get to take CX and have somebody go do it. It's just so much a part of the culture of the business.
Yeah, it's not a checkbox. It is the whole box.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's just a line item. So let's kind of shift because of time, right? Even though this conversation go forever, there's so many things I know we could talk about. I want to go to the personal side for you a little bit. I want to reflect a little bit on your journey and think about those moments where maybe you were unsure. Maybe you just questioned yourself. You had this doubt on what you should do next or what you could or couldn't do. How did you navigate those moments, and what would advice you give to our audience about facing those kinds of things, whether it be in your career or even within your role within a business?
Yeah, it's a good question. I had a moment of truth in my young CX career. Probably 6-7 years ago. I had been awarded my first customer experience leadership title. And it was the worst thing that could have happened to me because it immediately went to my head. Whereas, up to that point, I was doing the things that we've been talking about. I was getting people on board organically. I was, helping to be a catalyst for a positive culture around customer centricity. But it was all kind of being done for the right reasons, being done very intrinsically. And through that CX Change Coalition vehicle. Well, all of a sudden, when I got that title of CX leader, it was like, oh, okay, now I'm the guy. And so everything has to come through me. I don't want any CX related conversation to be happening without me in the room. I don't want anybody, owning these pieces where I don't have influence over it. And it was the worst possible thing. And I felt so adversarial to what had just been months ago. My peers, who I greatly cared about and was rooting for, all of a sudden it's like, everybody's against me. What's going on? And I'm having this conversation with a mentor of mine. And I remember using the metaphor of like, I feel like when I come into the office, I have to gird myself up for war. And she's like, what happened to you, dude? Like, what is the deal? Like this is not your enemy. These are your peers. Like you gotta bring them on board with you. Like you're going and fighting battles against them. Like go if you want to fight something, Nate, go fight the competition. Like you're way out of line with your mentality right now. This whole war mentality you have. It's like everybody feels it. Like everybody feels that coming off you. It's like if you want to get back to doing CX, then you got to get back to inviting people in and letting them make CX their own, that they get to do something about it. But you're equipping them to have the right mentality, the right unique vision, the right aligned vision around what together we're doing as a business to execute on customer-centric priorities. Right now, you're not doing that. You're trying to suck it all into yourself. It's like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, hard pivot and finally started to get to see some success. But it was weird, Christian, how quickly my mentality went way off the rails because of this title that I'd earned.
Yeah, it's interesting how you went from doing things with the team to earn that title to doing things at the team with the title. and you kind of lost your way there. And, you were saying, you were going to war, but maybe the mindset was the fact you were going to war with, or your team was going to war with you versus your team is waiting to go to war with you, for you.
Yeah.
For whatever it is that needs to go on there. And so it's
very well said.
I love the idea of how you were able to not only realize that things weren't working, but that you were the cause of that, because you were able to go to somebody like a mentor, be able to reflect on, it's just everybody else. It's just everybody else. And a lot of us do that. So it takes a really strong person, not only ask for help, but to also be able to look in the mirror and say, I am part of the problem, or I am the problem. Now it's time to do something about it. And so with that, though, that mental side of it, I know you're not just always working. I know you have a passion for sports. I think you mentioned pickleball earlier, and you would love that as a career. I understand you like disc golf. So those are all definitely competitive scenarios. There's obviously a community around that, people you're competing with and against. So how does that dynamic of how you enjoy those sports, those activities, align or mirror any of those values or things that you do in your professional life? Is there anything there? Or is it purely an escape from the professional
life? That's great. Great question. Yeah, disc golf is interesting, right? Because either disc golf or golf, it's you versus the course. That's what you're trying to beat. You don't have to worry about anybody else. It's you versus the course. So what matters most? Hitting the high percentage shot, throwing the high percentage throw, so that you can get the lowest possible score. So what it is, Christian, it's a giant puzzle that you get to solve. There's 18 different little mini puzzles. I have to figure out how I can position myself for success on each of these holes, and then maximize my capability to ultimately make a birdie. So, I mean, disc golf is so fun in that you're solving 18 miniature puzzles, and you're getting to showcase your skills that you're trying to practice and develop. So much like customer experience work. I mean, gosh, it's a giant puzzle to solve. I mean, you got these friction points that are sitting out there. You're trying to find the highest percentage path to a great interaction with your customers where you're not going to hit the tree. So, I mean, my mentality does come alive in both, kind of in a similar way. Pickleball is funny because it's kind of it's the Pepper Potts element, right? I mean, the reason I started playing that game, I love racket sports. I always have. But it's not you versus the course. It's definitely you versus the other players. But there's such an inclusive, wonderful community around pickleball. I mean, people just love each other. They generally love playing with everybody, different skill levels, different ages. And I just became fascinated with this community on display. And the fact that it was so easy to jump in and have fun. And that it was just made so simple. And that's a great lesson too, Christian, in terms of how we should be engaging our people, and like just making the bar really low for them to be able to jump in and feel psychologically secure, like they're welcome and loved and part of a team that's doing something wonderful. Like they shouldn't have to be there for 7 years before they feel that way. Like that should be like part of the onboarding process, like it is in pickleball. Like, okay, we're not going to make you watch, 1,000 recorded videos of how to not screw up your new job. We're going to get you excited about the way you get to serve customers and the unique brand that you now represent as a guide, as an ambassador. And that's what happens with pickleball. As soon as you start playing pickleball, your identity morphs, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm a pickleballer now. And that's all you ever talk about. And that's the way we should be on fire for the brands that we get to serve. Like we get to represent that unique community, and we should be at the same level of excitement as ambassadorship as we are for this goofy little racket sport over here that's exploded and taken our country by storm.
Yeah, no, it definitely has. When it comes to balancing the personal and professional, you're a leader, your husband, father. How do you balance? How do you find, or do you struggle with balance between? How do you live between those worlds?
Yeah. I definitely have not achieved the answer on this. It has been very hard for me, especially this year. And CX Accelerator as the nonprofit passion project has taken a major hit because I do not have the emotional bandwidth to invest there the way that it is needed to be. And that is what I've decided to unfortunately compromise. It had to happen because I'm not going to compromise the job that I have or my family. So a tough choice was made. And that was for my own sanity. And that was for the long-term betterment of all these things. I will find new balance. I will bring attention to that again, when it makes sense, when I can do that out of fairness without compromising, any of these other major things. But sometimes you do absolutely have to make one of those choices, Christian.
I have no doubt that many of us have been in that boat, including myself. And you're right. You just have to make the decision. You can't just keep allowing things to flow and just they are what they are. You have to be conscious about where your priorities sit, and that sometimes the tough decisions, as hard as they may be, they're going to be the best for the long run. So there's going to be people in the audience that are going, I need to connect with Nate. I want to connect with them. How can they best do that?
Yeah. I'm on X as CX Accelerator. If you go to LinkedIn, I'm just Nate Brown. Or if you go to cxaccelerator.com, my contact information is all over there too. And I would absolutely love to connect with you. So please do.
I love the conversation. Could go on forever. I look forward to the next time we could connect. Thank you so much for attending the show and giving our audience some cool stuff to listen to. With that said, that brings us to the end of our show today with Nate Brown. And look, if you really want to know more about what Nate's doing, please connect with them. To our listeners, we hope you enjoyed the episode. And look, next month is another episode. We're excited to bring that to you. And keep listening to First Contact Stories of the Contact Center. Thank you for tuning in and take care. We'll talk soon.
See ya.
Thank you for joining me in this episode. If you're loving the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your YouTube channel for exclusive clips, webinars, workshops, and bonus materials. And if you're an Apple iTunes listener, we'd greatly appreciate a 5-star rating and review to help spread the word. On our YouTube page, you can also leave us feedback, comments, and suggest future guests that you'd like to hear from. For even more valuable insights and information on the call center world, visit nobelbiz.com and access our on-demand webinars. I'm Christian Montez, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of First Contact Podcast. Stay with us for the next exciting chapter.